Okay, at this point, I think we're ready to begin. Thank you for coming. This is kind of an unusual time of the day to have a presentation like this, I think. I didn't know whether to eat beforehand or afterwards. How many did eat beforehand? You know, what I should have done, and if I ever do it again, I probably will, thank you, I will provide something to eat as you take in the next presentation, because according to the research shows that the more of our senses that we engage in any experience, the more meaning we get from it. So you'll have to pay attention. We've got some great hors d'oeuvres back there.
The square bar's got pizza.
And you know, we never change very far from our roots. They are so deep in us, you know. To break from those things is really difficult. And I've been a junior high teacher here for almost 30 years. And we did things kind of like this. This reminds me a little bit of the end of the school year. My good friend Perry Lawson is here, and his wife, and we would put on a cold show. It was we were studying kinetic energy and temperature and some other kind of things. And in that cold show, the students were there at the end of the day. They got a lot of energy. And as part of that program, we would take some liquid nitrogen and we would drop in some things like marshmallows and some little fish crackers, and then we'd feed the students. And you know, I'd see those students 20 or 30 years later, and lots of them would say, "Hey, are you still doing that cold show?" See, the more senses that you can include in the experience, the longer it stays in the brain. And I think by feeding them at that moment, it was just like a little burst of energy. And so it was something that they remembered. So I'm going to, that little piece of paper, I'm going to ask you to later on make a small drawing on it or something like that. And so that will be part of what you'll be asked to do, and there's going to be some pop quiz questions and things like that. But this is mostly for fun. There are no grades here. And the title on this program, I mean, I started writing the title and I just didn't quit because my mind was just going like this. That's the way this whole experience with Cranberries had played out for me. I was just kind of wandering from one thing to the next, and pretty soon it tripped another trigger about something else. And I wanted to then prevent. Yeah, you would have thought so. So it starts out, it says, from flying horses to magnetic cranberries, and the meanings of each of these things. I was at a show in Scottsdale, Arizona this winter, and I walked by one person's artwork, and that person was noticing that I was looking at his stuff. He says, "Do you take any pictures?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm a hobby photographer." And he said, "Oh, his pictures, the thing that made them different from others in this particular show was he took a lot of care in the titles of them." And he told me who was his inspiration for his photography, and it was a guy who had named a picture, and then that place became synonymous with identifying one town in Indiana. It was called the Liar's Bench. It was a photograph taken in 1912 or something, and it's got a bunch of old farmers with their bib overalls and stuff, all facing away, and they're trading stories, and the photograph appears there, and people go still to that bench now in that county and look at that and look at the other photographs that this particular guy took, and that was his motivation. So I started to think about, well, what was my motivation? What got me interested in taking pictures, and what made me think I could take pictures that were of some value? And I'd have to say that my motivation and inspiration was Edward Muybridge. Now, Muybridge was a photographer of 1872. It was his big event. Muybridge, what he did was, he was a young man in England, and he liked to take pictures, but he wanted to really do something with his life, so he went where everybody else was going. He joined the gold rush and went from England to California and landed in San Francisco. And when he's out in California, He takes pictures of landscape and he takes pictures of people. But he runs into a guy who is very wealthy, Leland Stanford, who gave the land for Stanford University now in California. Stanford got all his money by railroads and all these people going to California, and so he's very wealthy. And I think at the country club or something, he bet one of his cohorts. He also had a hobby. He collected racehorses, and he raced them. And he went and made a bet with one of the people that was near him. The bet was that when his horse raced, it left the ground. And so the guy would never pay up unless he had proof. And so Stanford hears about Muybridge, and he says, let's take some pictures. And Muybridge says, I don't know if my cameras can do that. And Leland said, money's no factor. We'll just make the best cameras we can make. And so he set up at a racetrack, a white background, and then he went and he set a trip line, strings going across the tracks. And then he got his fastest racehorse and jockey to run through it. And as the racehorses went across the strings, the trip to trigger, and they took the pictures, and they had a sequence. And the sequence of the pictures shows the horse in motion. And got a book that had the pictures in it. I can't show you that because it's holding up my projector. I do have I photocopied the pictures, and I put them on playing cards. He made a machine that went in a circle, and when you peered through that little machine, you'd see the horse actually racing. I've played 32 card pickup a few times. I gotta see how this works. Put that there. Here I go. You missed it. But in this deck are the 24 photos that he took. So there they are. And I don't know which number. There it is. He captured it. That one little event in time that no one had been up till that point ever able to know for sure if all the feet left the ground when the horse ran. So he's got something he learned by photographing those horses. So you can imagine my reasoning. Imagine what he could do with horses. What could I do with cranberries? And so that kind of set me on that track. And I thought, you know what, if I grew cranberries, see, I was an educator, but I gardened, and so I thought maybe I could grow cranberries. So I thought, well, if I'm going to take pictures of cranberries, I'm certainly going to need those plants. And if I'm going to do what he did, I'm going to have to go out there every day, and I'm going to have to spend lots of time and click lots of photographs in little sequences of time. Because a cranberry, one day in the life of a cranberry is 3 months in the life of a human. And an hour is a long time. And I just felt like when the cranberry growers called the newspaper people and said, our berries are blooming. And the people in the newspapers got around to coming out and driving up and stuff. By the time they get there, I just wonder what they capture, because that's a lot of time. And so I started by thinking, now, if I do get them in sequence and I do a lot of them, what will I get? So I thought, all right, I'm going to start out, I got to start cheap. So I bought a little camera, and I took some pictures, and here's one of my first pictures. So that should be inspiration to anybody that wants to do anything with photography, because there I am 2 years ago. But I thought, there's something in this photo I really like. I like the way that thing looks right there. It looks so graceful and nice. I think maybe I'm starting to notice some things. So all right, I get this idea. And I didn't know, am I going to take pictures or I'm going to paint? I painted walls, but I didn't. And so I was open to ideas. And I have got some people around me that they have got good ideas. So one of the things somebody said to me was, well, you've got to read up if you're thinking you're going to do this. So I read this little book. Here it is. I bought this on eBay, and some kid had really taken heart to it. They'd started to use the color crayons on the title. But this is Winston Churchill's book. It's called Painting as a Pastime. It's supposed to be instructive and inspiring. I did get kind of inspired when I read this little thing. Look at how old that is. These pages are yellow. But, one of the things he says in his book, all nature is charged with beauty. That was like, I think I know that. Nothing will make one observe more thoroughly than having to face the difficult task of representing the thing observed. So it will make you think about how intently you've got to observe stuff. So one friend gives me this book, and I read it. Well, that's good. Use that. And another friend says, well, if you're going to do it, I said, I had this idea. I said, I want to make Cranberries as artistically represented as I can. And the other good friend of mine said, well, you're going to have to read this book. Well, I can't tell you the title of that yet, because I got to tell you about 2 weeks ago. I was getting ready for this, and I was in the basement of one of my good friends, and we were making the frames for some of these pictures out there. And we're making these frames, and these guys say to me, ask the question, well, what is your presentation about? And I thought for a second, and how do you explain this? It's about what your eyes like. And one of my buddies turns to the other and winks, and he says, you know what our eyes like. And I thought, yeah. You know what your eyes like. Your eyes like two things.
Careful.
Okay, your eyes are magnetically drawn to two things, and you don't realize it all the time whenever you're looking at anything. Everybody knows, they went to school, what this one is. Pi. Give me a number for that one. Holy cats, I only know it that far. Most know it further. All right, pi is 3.14. It's a number. Okay, but this other thing is called phi. Phi is phi. All right. Raise your hand if you can give me a number. Phi. P-H-I. That's the Greek letter that stands for it the same way that pi stands the Greek letter for 3.14.
1.
Okay. No one could zero.
Infinity?
Give the number?
Infinity?
You lost your chance to win your first prize. Okay. Here's pi, and there's phi. All right. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what is pi? Well, here's the symbol. This is the book he had me read. It's called The Glorious Golden Ratio. So I'm reading about this stuff. Now, if you are an artist or in any art course, this book is like something that is significant to you. How is it that we can be so attracted to a number? Here's an example of that. Oh, the good old days. That's what we used to do. We used to get ourselves around the television set. We used to be watching sets like that. Basically a square with rounded corners. Okay? Nobody watches that anymore. We're all watching this. Widescreen TVs. Now if you take your widescreen TV and you measure this side, let that be 1. This side up here is 1.62. Somebody started to think, people like to look at that. That fits their image. That's what they like. Here's something that they'll buy. I got my laptop down there. Boy, those Apple people were smart. Steve Jobs knew. Yep, open this side. This length 1, this length 1.61, or close. They are. I used to take pictures on a Polaroid land camera and a Brownie camera before that, and the pictures were mostly rectangular but close to square. And now when I take them out here and have Walmart or Walgreens or whoever you have do your photos for you, you always get them back in this same dimension. It is by inches, but it's close to 1.5. Our eyes are estimating and saying, oh, I'd like to look at that. That's nice. Okay, we are into looking at things from, so the artist looks at things from this perspective. Here's an artist. Maybe you recognize his work. Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci was a master at that number, and he found that the dimensions from his foot to his navel was exactly that ratio of 1 to 1.62. And it appears all over in human anatomy. It appears in your hand and your arm. The doctors who look at your X-ray of your hands will see that it appears those same ratios in your digits. And so this is in most of what people consider traditional art and masterpieces. Here's the Mona Lisa. Here's what this says. This is 1.6 to 1. And then this pattern can repeat itself over and over and over in itself, and it creates some numbers that are, there's Fibonacci numbers that create this. And of course, we recognize that. It looks like snail shells and other kinds of things in nature. Fern, as they begin, have that kind of same pattern and stuff. So, all right, this is part of what we are attracted to. So, I'm looking for a plain piece of paper. Here's traits we are attracted to. Oh, I gotta show you that. I'm down on number 2. This is, we're attracted to beauty and proportion. And when we look at something and say, that is really beautiful, what we're really thinking in our brain is, this fits into how I imagine it should fit. This seems right. So this golden ratio is critical across all the arts. It is in the wonders of the world, from the first pyramid to the Parthenon to the White House. It appears in architecture, in art, in all other forms, and it appears in nature. It appears in nature. All right, here says traits we're attracted. Oh, in one's prime. What does that mean? Okay, I got to show you a second picture here. I've got a picture of 2 women. One. And here's the next question. Which one is Miss China? It's a trick question. What year? Yeah. They both are. They both are Miss China. Yeah. She was earlier. There's the current Miss China. She's in her prime. When we see things in their prime, whether we are shopping for vegetables or looking at art or whatever, we are noticing things in their prime, and that we are attracted to that. Okay, so that's how come that's on that list. In one's prime, beauty and proportion, and grace. All right, that's kind of like with the flow. All right, but next thing. All right, I kind of thought, you know, we have this Cranberry Blossom Festival every year, and we always have a princess, somebody that represents the festival. We pick young girls in the prime. And I thought, you know, I'd like to get a photograph that showed the blossom in its prime. I mean, when it was just there. Well, it isn't just, you know, we all go through a time in our prime. We all did, or are going to soon. Some of us are still hoping. But I thought, well, if I've got a few blossoms, and I take them incrementally and shoot them all the way from the time they just began until the very end of the blossom, I'm going to find the prime of these things. And so that was my goal. I wanted something to represent the cranberry blossom as though it was the Miss Cranberry Blossom in the botanical world. Okay, so we've got the cranberry blossom. So now I've got to ask for help. I wanted to have one of my pieces in here, and you can pull it off the wall. It is on canvas, and it's the stem. It's just a long, so you can just lift it off. I'll throw it right on here. Nice. Can you do that? I forgot. Okay, so now I'm starting to paint. I've got my photograph, and now I'm going to teach myself how to paint. And what I do is I start painting the leaves and start painting berries. And I'm looking back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I'm thinking, man, this cranberry is a challenge. That simple cranberry is a challenge because most plants, and I did take a little botany in college, most plants, when they form leaves, they either do it, let's see, opposite or alternately. And I thought this cranberry is a, thank you, this cranberry is a challenge because I couldn't figure out whether it was opposite or which way it was going. I thought it's going every which way on me. I keep kind of looking. All right. Raise that higher. I can't put that on the piano that we had.
So just hold it up. Yeah, just
hold
hold
it
it
up.
up. Can just hold it up.
Now we're going to have to hold this for 45 more minutes. All right.
Challenge.
All right, so I'm looking at this stem, and I'm trying to figure out, these are the little leaves. How do those leaves come off that branch? This one's popping up here. Most people didn't realize that that cranberry head was, you know, it's so hardy. It's woody for a part of the stem. And then this one's coming up on that side, and this one's coming up over here. And then I started thinking, these remind me of some of these kids I had, where I'd want to do something, and I'd want them divided up into groups. I called this thing Cranberry Leaf Roll Call, because they're all standing up there. And I'd say to them, all right, count off by what? To get that pattern. See, I was looking at that cranberry thinking maybe there was a pattern to it. Do you see the pattern? What number? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Count them again. What do you think?
5.
5 is true. Here's the best example that's the easiest to represent. Take this guy that's faced this way. He's 1. He's 2, facing you, facing the way. 3, 4, 5, 1. Here's my match. And there's my match. And there is, and there is, and there is. All right, so I thought, great, thanks. I'll put that. Now I'm going to get this one.
Okay.
Now I want the big one with the red berry plot right in the center. So they count off by fives, and it's in them. This is part of what makes the cranberry plant. Is it's got this stuff in it. It knows how it's going to grow in a set pattern. Whew, boy, that made me think. That made me think of school again. When I taught genetics, in this little section of 8th grade science, one of the things we learned was about something called
Hopefully this is the one.
Nope, sorry. A little bigger, it's heavier. Yeah, and it's on
On that wall?
that wall. Yeah, thank you.
Can you leave this one here?
Yeah, you can leave that. Okay, so but in genetics, there's nature and nurture. When you're talking with junior high age kids, they're interested in why am I the way I am, and I'm comparing myself to everybody else, and what's my place, and who am I, and how am I going to be different, and all that kind of stuff. And part of the answer to that is it was in you, in your genetics. Or it got there because of your environment. Okay, let me give you an example of something, like your height. Spelled that right? Your height might be something in your genes. But the fact that you speak English, that's due to...
Is this one?
Yeah, that's the right one. Okay. Now we'll load
I was
this guy
holding that out the wrong way.
up there. Okay. I think that'll stay. Good way, good. Okay. Now, all right, so it's either in your genes or it's because of the way you were brought up. These leaves. This is a perfect example. Had I been in my classroom, I would have used it. All these leaves are on this one side. See, you're really looking at it like this because this was hanging and draping some distance. I was raising my plants in hanging baskets of all things. And these all, see, they counted by fives when they came off the stem. But phototropism attracted them all to be on this side because that was the side there was the light. Two things affecting the way those little leaflets came off. Okay, so it's in us by our environment or by our genetics. Okay, now I'm going to ask you to take, you've got on your program here, you got this one little stray piece right here. Okay, take and do this. It's very easy. Pull that off there. And this is the part I'm going to ask you to work with. See, this is the tactile part. Now you get engaged with that, and then you'll remember this one and some other things you forgot. I got a big one here. So. All right, now here's what I'm going to ask you to do. That kind of looks like the bumper sticker or this, and then I'm going to tie that into a knot. But I don't want to pull it so hard that it distorts it. What I like is that this is a trick. This is finesse. You guys won't be able to do it. But many of the women will be able to get this so that it's almost perfect like this. And so, all right. Something like this. And then like this. And fold the bottom. And then I've got to fold this one over. You know, doing this in a hurry, I'm not doing the best job I ever did. But okay. I get something like... Anybody know what shape that's forming? Pentagon is right. Pentagon. Five-sided figure. Perfect. Well, not exactly perfect, but okay. Kind of perfect. Okay. Now on your sheet, I'd like you to take your pencil. And you can draw it Pentagon like that. Who's got one that's good? I kind of hate that. That looks pretty good. That's better than what I was drawing. So you lost yours. Okay. So now I will put that here. Take and make the top point up. Up. And then this side, and then this side, and then that side, and then this side. Okay, that's close to Pentagon. Take it back. Okay, next take and do this. Remember this one. Here's 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5. Like that. Now, I just had supper last night with my good friend in the military. And he made me think about this even more. What is the only building, or what's the first building that comes to mind when you think of all right. Washington, D.C. is so saturated in symbolism by people who understood phi and pi and all these kinds of things, that when you get there, it's a visceral kind of a feeling because it just is in everything. And there's a theme to it. So, all right, the Pentagon. Now, what meaning does the Pentagon have? Just the symbol itself. Stands for strength. The symbol itself does. We didn't want a weak government. We wanted a strong government and a strong force to represent our interest, and so we've got the Pentagon there. Okay. Now, I thought, oh, I figured out how these leaflets come off here. They must just do this. They must just, all right, Bruce from this direction. It must start here. There's 1, and the next one's there, and the next one. Wait a minute. It didn't just do that. I thought I'd figured something out. Oh, brother. Then I looked at it close to see what order they do come off of that. They do start at 1, but it jumps to the 3rd position on that little ridge. So now I'm going to ask you to do this. It jumps from 1 to 3, from 3 to 5, from 5 to 2, from 2 to 4, and back to 1. Oh. Now we have showing something that really has meaning too. There's a big difference between the 1-star general and the 4-star. It is power. And this pentagram, jeepers, Pythagorean theorem, the guy that invented that had a group of his closest people around him that he kept as allies, and they met to discuss higher level things, and they met with a handshake. They took the pentagram and put it in their palm, and when someone reached out, they knew if they were in the group. This is an old symbol, and that stands for strength. All right, I wanted to show that so who knows about this? Oh, well, everybody does. The European Union knows about it. These stars represent each of the countries. We knew about it. I just got this in the mail. I said I'm not throwing that. That's not junk. That's part of the program. I got this. It said, free 3 by 5 foot American flag, been reserved for me. All right. The pentagram, that exact thing right there. Each state represented. Keep in mind the golden ratio of those founding fathers. That flag is 5 by 3. Take and do the division. You are at 1.5, very close to what our eye sees. We like that. That's something we're attracted to. The Chinese should have learned from us. Here's their flag. They did include the star for power, but what they didn't include was the golden ratio and its dimension. Difference between American and Chinese there. I thought it was curious. I never knew what the stars stood for. I get off on these little tangent sites, just like it's begging the question, what are those about? What does that mean? These 4 stars stands for 4 classes of people in China, all pointing towards the Communist Party. The classes are aimed at, committed to the efforts of that party. All right, so, okay. I was learning about stars. All right, this was a real good one because I thought, you know what? Is it ever possible to have too many stars? There's a famous logo. Everybody saw that a gazillion times, but it was possible to have too many stars. And after 2000, people began to think Walmart represented such a large and powerful retail force that they were starting to change their shopping to patronize competitors of theirs. They wanted to soften their image away from the strength. You'll see it on our store. The logo. Get rid of this. That's symbolism. Symbols are powerful. It affects their profits, so they care a lot about little things like whether there's a star or not in their logo. I had to take and show one other one here. I showed Miss China. I got to show one of Mr. Universe, just for the ladies there. What, you recognize him? Yeah. You look pretty good. You know why people thought he got points? He got points for, now here's the male, countered to the grace with the female part. And there's, in the male part, of course, you can see strength matters. Arnold and I have been on the same regiment. It took with him. But even Arnold knows, okay, here he is today. Too bad. All right, he's kind of changed. You know what he's changed? He's changed proportion. And our bodies see that and we're attracted to proportion. Here was another one. This didn't show up quite as good. Here he was at the competition then. Here he is poolside now. Here it says down here, I'll be back. And here it says, oh, my back. All right. Now, so we've got this thing with this golden ratio going on. And then I thought, all right. Oh, you've got to do this now. Can I borrow yours? Susan. Susan did a good job of folding, and now I'm going to unfold hers. And if you unfold yours, but make a strong crease in this little pentagon there. Here, I'll make a strong crease, and I'm going to even doctor this up. I don't think you can see that very good. I'm going to take and make a mark where my fold was. Oops. Okay, you see that? Now I'm going to take and do this. I'm going to take this length here and this length here. And now I'm going to say, we're not going to measure because it's going to take too long. But if you did measure, here's what you'd find out on your pentagon fold. This is 1.62. Here the edges form that very perfect golden ratio again. All right, now I took those. All right, here's my big one. Gee, that was the saddest one I ever did. And now I'm going to take, and I'm going to, so I'm using my pentagram. Angela, you'll use the scissors in a moment. Here's what I'm going to, I've got a string in here. Okay. And I've got to take and put in 2 tacks on a piece of paper. I thought I had 2 in here. Yeah, there they are. So No, here I've got a piece of cardboard. Oops, there it is. And I've just taped a piece of white paper to it. And now I'm going to take, and Jim, if you'll hold that, I'm going to measure the inside of my pentagram there. 4.5 inches. And I'm going to put 2 tacks in there. 1. You'd think I'd be strong enough to put a tack in here. And 1 at 4.5. Went right through to his hand. Okay. Now, all right, now where's my string? Where did I put that? I get so excited about this stuff. Hi, I'm really sorry about that. Did you see it?
Yes. Yeah.
No, I don't see it. Oh, that was right. It's a little shy. Okay.
I can see if there's some string out here.
No, I had it measured.
Oh, I see.
Okay. Now here's what I do. I take the pentagon and I apply the string and I loop the string between these 2 points. This is 1 and the string's length is 1.62 coming from the stem. And when I loop that there and I trace it with my, so I pull the string out as far as I can and then I follow that string around this. When cut out, cut that from the edge, please. See, this thing was about connecting the dots. I thought it's in the plant, the connection between that stem and that berry. That shape is not random, any more than those are random leaflets on that vine. And from someone who looks at the cranberry, they can't help but notice the aesthetics and the beauty that came from it. That from the Pentagon became that of the cranberry, and it is an absolute perfect match.
Wow.
To me, that was like, can't believe that I come upon it, but it is innate in it. And when I thought about the beauty of what I learned about cranberries, I thought I just had to share it. So that's why I wanted to take and show this to you. I've got, let's see, I've got 2 other questions. Here's one. Here's a trick question before we close. Who knows the answer to that one? What medical invention saved the most human lives in history?
X-ray.
I told you it was a trick question. The right answer is not up there.
Oh.
The right answer is soap.
Wash your hands. Wash your hands.
Soap has saved the most human lives of any invention. Now, here's what soap does. It's very simple. Perry and I made soap. That wasn't so simple. When we make soap, soap's real purpose, the way it does what it does for us is when you get your hands soapy, they become slippery. Everything that's on them, bacteria, dirt, all that kind of stuff, goes with the water down the sink. That's all soap does. It makes us slippery. That's why the bar of soap in the tub, of course, is such a hazard, because it is slippery. Well, here's what cranberry does. The cranberry has in it a chemical that does the same thing that soap does, only you're washing on the inside. Because once you ingest that stuff, the chemical in there does what soap does. It makes it so the bacteria don't adhere to the inside of you and can get flushed and moved out. So cranberries have lots of health benefits. I thought, well, I wonder how many they got. So I had to go over here and visit Steve and Mike and Katrina, and I said, hey, I've got a project for you. I said, tell me, you've got all these bottles on these shelves. Which fruit do you sell the most of? I want you to go around and look at them closely. And they did an inventory for me. We went all the way around all these shelves and I counted them all up. Here's an easy question. Medicinally, which fruit is number one? Cranberries are, by a long shot. Second one was elderberry or something, and then some other fruits from Timbuktu I never heard of. But, okay. So, I think we've got the greatest fruit. I mean, it's aesthetic. The things that we're attracted to strength, grace, health. That's why Aaron's tan in the picture. He's white now, see? He looks healthier back then. And who's the competition? Here's the question. What are the three native North American fruits?
That's a trick question.
Is that?
Yes, because there's more than three.
Oh, I just looked in the encyclopedia. Are there more?
This is great. I'm just going to tell you this because there are only three fruits that were native to North America that weren't found in Europe. So
Yes.
they came back, but there are many native fruits to North America. Apples and strawberries and raspberries and blackberries and boysenberries and elderberries and juneberries and cranberries, and there's a lot. But there's only three that were not found in Europe.
That's what I must have gotten. My wires crossed. I'm learning that.
No, but I mean, it's been misquoted so much now that people
That now it appears in the literature.
That it appears that way,
Mhm.
and that is because what would Johnny Appleseed say?
Yeah.
You know,
Apples weren't in it.
They,
They're not one of the three.
No.
There.
But they were here long.
The original ones that were here then that
The
were
only-
not in
You're
Europe,
unique.
that are unique to North America.
Right. That's it. Unique to North America.
Blueberry, Concord grape, and cranberry. So there were just three of those, and because you answered the question better than I imagined, pick a card, any card. There you go, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, yeah. So, I am really thankful that you came tonight, and I hope that there were a couple tidbits that you may have picked up about Cranberries. And it's been a pleasure to work with them and work with the people that have put on the program today. So thanks very much.
Steve, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Now that you know more about cranberries than the cranberry industry does,
No, they yeah,
I wonder.
yeah, they're really good. Yeah.
It is, but you talk about the five, there are 5 hooks on an upright every year. That's what their program produce too. So it's five blossoms, 5 hooks per upright. So
So they'd be coming off of something like this. This is growth from previous year?
that looks like a runner, so it looks like it could be this year's vegetative growth.
Yeah. So, very good. Well, thanks for coming.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.